Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Hope you're doing well. So a little bit ago, I did a video about 5 fragrances that critics hated, the masses loved. Now I'm not saying every single reviewer or critic or whatever you want to call them hated those fragrances, but the majority definitely did. They're fragrances that people love to dunk on. And today we've got kind of the opposite. These are fragrances that the majority of critics really enjoyed. The people that write reviews or film videos or do whatever, they like these. But then the people that are actually buying the fragrances in stores, not so much. So let's jump into it. Let's go over these critical darlings that just didn't do so well. Now the first one's pretty obvious because it's from the same line of a fragrance that I had in the last video. So that fragrance in the previous video, people in stores, we're talking retail stores, not discounters, retail stores, buy it up like crazy. And yet this one flopped majestically. As I go through these, one thing you need to keep in mind is that I'm not talking about how well these sell at discounters. That's something completely different. A brand probably is not very happy about their fragrances absolutely crushing it when people are buying them for $25. They prefer fragrances to sell at full retail because then they're actually making money. Okay, so first fragrance, Guilty Absolute from Gucci. Leather, cypress, patchouli, and vetiver. Honestly, when you smell this fragrance, it does not smell even 1% what you would imagine a Gucci Guilty fragrance to smell like. That is both great and horrible. It's great because when you smell it, you're just like mind blown. Gucci released this in the Guilty line and it smells like this? Okay, for me, this smells amazing. The quality is insane. It takes chances. It doesn't play it safe at all. It's in your face, medicinal, leathery, powerful, woodsy. This to me is amazing. But to your average Joe, when they go into a fragrance store or any store that sells fragrances and they see a new Gucci Guilty and maybe they're a big fan of the original Gucci Guilty or Gucci Guilty Black, what happens when they see this and they pop off the lid and something like that. Yeah, Guilty Absolute was welcomed with open arms by so many critics out there. And when it hit stores, oh man, did it fail. Still yet though, to me, this is amazing. I think there's gonna be a time in the not so distant future that fragrance is really difficult to find, and I wouldn't be surprised if the price goes up, and it becomes one of the fragrances that's heralded as a discontinued masterpiece. But don't tell that to the average fragrance purchaser because they hate it. And I completely understand why. Fragrances like that are not at all easy to wear for an average person. I mean, that is a really niche type of fragrance released by a designer house in a designer line that is known for making just extremely easy to wear, people-pleasing fragrances. It sticks out like a sore thumb. Next up, let's go with the Tom Ford Noir Eau de Parfum. Now, I could have put Noir Eau de Toilette in here also, or a Noir Anthracite, because those also don't do so well. But we're going with the EDP this time. I just can't bring myself to talk badly about Anthracite. I low-key really like it. This has iris, rose, patchouli, amber, and civet as some of the notes in the scent. It is quite dark, a bit powdery. It's got an animalic touch to it, a heavy floral dose as well. This is another fragrance that for the vast majority of people, it will only be usable in a hyper-specific set of circumstances. So for a lot of people out there, they would smell this, and even if they thought, yeah, it's nice, they would also think, when am I gonna wear it? And do I wanna pay that much at retail for this? Probably not. Now, I myself am not a massive fan of Noir Eau de Parfum. I think actually out of the entire Tom Ford Noir line, that this one's my least favorite. And that also probably has something to do with the fact that I have received lots of unsolicited Negative reactions to this, yeah, not compliments. So I know a lot of people out there are all about the compliments. That's the C word in a good way. I got the C word in a bad way, which is criticisms. And it's never great when you're in the office and as soon as you start your day, you're inundated with people saying, hey man, what do you got on today? Smells horrible. You smell like an old lady who's dead. Yeah, I got nothing else past that, just that. So it just never worked for me, and I would imagine lots of people out there it didn't work well for them either, and that's why it never really took off. Next up, we've got a bit of a hype beast that was once upon a time one of the best cheapy fragrances you could buy, again at discounters, Aqua Mara from Bulgari. Mandarin, water, neroli, and olibanum, some of the notes in the fragrance. And if you were around on YouTube or on forums or whatever when this fragrance was really taking off, then you know that there was a time there where you couldn't go 2 seconds without hearing about this. It got heavily hyped. And it is a solid scent, especially when we're talking about the price range in which you could pick this up at discounters. We were talking $20 to $30 most places. It's an interesting aquatic fragrance with a mineralic orange. It's a big compliment. Pollurid is a little bit divisive though. Some people didn't really dig the way that this one smelled. Personally, thought it was really good. It did ignite a bit of a firestorm with some people going back and forth saying Aqua Mara is trash. You have to wear the original Aqua. That's the only Aqua that matters. Kind of that old school versus new school thing was going on for a while there. No, Aqua Mara is the best. No, original Aqua. Amara, original. Amara, original. And then after the end of all that, nobody actually cares anymore. It was just fun to argue for a while, that's all. I still think it's a really solid scent, and even though it got hyped incessantly online, it didn't really do well in stores. It did really well at discounters, but again, that doesn't actually matter. It's how it does in stores that matters to brands. When I say stores, I'm talking retail, not fragrance net, although I do love discounters. Next up, we've got a fragrance that I like a lot personally. It's got a great presentation, kicked off a whole new line of fragrances with a bunch of flankers that came after this one. And most of those flankers share something in common with this fragrance, something beyond just the DNA of the scent. And that is the fact that almost all of them sell, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, terribly. Dunhill Icon, neroli, bergamot, pepper, and lavender. Some of the notes in this fragrance got a little bit of a similarity to Terre d'Hermès. It's got a very classy, gentlemanly, sophisticated vibe to it. Perfect for an office. Great for spring, great for fall. You can pull it off in winter as well. It's a nice evening fragrance or daytime fragrance. There's a lot to like about it. And as I said, the presentation is nice. Clean, modern, heavy, metallic, looks good. And that one did have a nice little boost when it was first released. People said, hey man, Dunhill, making moves, doing something new, something a little bit higher end than their usual stuff, because Dunhill nowadays, they're known more for cheaper stuff. We'll just say that. Synthetic, syrupy, sweet kind of fragrances with a presentation that maybe doesn't feel luxurious, we'll say, in the hand. But this flipped the script a bit. And then they came out with a number of flankers that people just didn't go for, frankly. And then they came out with Icon Racing, which to this date would appear to be the most popular, most successful release in the Icon line. Issue with that is Icon Racing, it's an Invictus kind of scent. Invictus it's like taking over the world, man. It's like in a post-apocalyptic realm, and you look up and it's like an Invictus billboard and it says Invictus for a better tomorrow or something like that. And then it's just a wasteland. That is Invictus in my mind. So anyway, Icon Racing, kind of popular because of the obvious tie-in to Invictus. They tried to get some of that young adult, young male money, and it worked okay. Then they came out with Icon Racing Red and Icon Racing Blue here recently, and those aren't really exciting fragrances. I imagine those are just gonna kind of fall by the wayside and end up discontinued, and people won't even realize they're gone. So anyway, all this rambling, Icon. When this came out, it was promising. You know, it was something new, and yes, it was a riff on a popular style of scent, you know, a little similar to Terre d'Hermes, but it was still its own thing. It did put a twist on it. And after that initial little launch it had where people were intrigued, it just died. And last up, a personal love of mine. Of all these fragrances, this one I'd say is my favorite. And it just never seemed to take off, really. It's L'Homme Ultime. It has ginger, grapefruit, rose, and woods, and I love the opening of this. I think it smells so good, so pleasant. Yeah, grapefruit, ginger, that's been done a million times. I get that, it's nothing new. But the way it comes across in this, so clean, so fresh, and that bit of rose that it has in the opening gives it this extra nuance, kind of gentlemanly, slightly mature, but at the same time with a youthful edge. It smells so good. Once you hit the dry down, it's not as good as in the opening and the mid because it turns into a little bit of a standard woodsy clean fragrance with remnants of the notes that came before it. But it doesn't matter because the opening and the mid to me smells so fantastic that I'll just spray it on again. Hit the dry down, no problem. Let's refresh. Let's relive the opening and the mid again. Bow, bow, bow. I don't know why I didn't just spray myself instead of making weird fake gun noises. It is one of my favorite springtime fragrances of the past 5 years, we'll say. Also really good during the summer, more of a daytime scent, definitely office friendly. It is a killer scent all the way around, and it takes that L'Homme DNA and does something interesting with the twist. That rose that they put in here really elevates that scent. And for me, it's kind of on this level above 90% of the YSL L'Homme and La Nuit de L'Homme flankers, if not 95%. It's up here. A lot of those flankers, they're uninspired and they may be compliment pulling for sure, people pleasing for sure, but they're kind of hard to remember, you know, unless you've smelled it 100 times, 150 times of those scents, they don't stick. But with L'Homme Ultime, the first time I smelled it, it was like, you know, it like dug into my brain and I just immediately fell in love with it. When I smelled it afterwards, I was like, yeah, that's Ultime. With some of these La Nuit de L'Homme flankers and even some of the L'Homme flankers, you smell it and you're like, which one is that? Is that the Le Parfum or is that the L'Entrance or is it the Eau de Parfum or is it the whatever other parfum they got? I don't know, man. I felt when it came out and I smelled it, I wore it around, got positive feedback from people. I thought this is gonna be one that sticks around. It's not. So there we go, the reverse. 5 fragrances that critics hailed as fantastic releases that were met with a meh response by the public at large. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Shout out to all you Beast Mode Gents members. If you're not a Gents Sense member, click the little join button below. Check that out. We got a lot of stuff on there. We've got exclusive videos for members. I do exclusive live streams with members and they get early access to the videos on the channel along with a bunch of other stuff. All right, guys, stay safe out there. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.